They're just chilling by the lake. They just ate. They're probably getting some water action happening. So welcome to the channel. In this episode, we're going to be doing a tomahawk steak. I've got a 2.5 pound tomahawk steak, and I'm going to mash it up on the fire pit. But first, work with me here. I'm going to get some rosemary. So I'm going to cut some rosemary out of the garden. I think that's all I need. So you know what? Let me cut two. Cut them down here. These ones are longer. So 2 pieces of rosemary that I'm going to put in the garden. And I'm also going to cut a little thyme. Let's swing that there. Chop it. Whoop. Grab it. So I got some rosemary and thyme that I cut from my garden that I'm going to use in the tomahawk steak. So stick around. We're doing a tomahawk steak on the fire pit. Welcome back to Justaradlife. In this episode, we are doing a tomahawk steak. It's about 2.5 pounds. Look at that. Totally well marbled. It's gonna give good flavor. Everything will just render off of it. And then got my thyme, and I've got my rosemary that I'm gonna put in there as well, and that's an after process, but it's all washed off and it's clean. I use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And for a twist, I'm gonna try something different because I typically use salt and pepper, but I noticed this Maggie's bouillon seasoning adds a really cool flavor. So I'm gonna add that into my dry rub for the mix. And then I have some ground pepper. I like to grind it in. And our favorite thing in this household, Himalayan sea salt. We use it for everything, but you have to be careful with it because it's a lot richer than iodized salt. So here we go. So the first thing we're going to start out with is a little Himalayan sea salt. So just get about that much, sprinkle it on, and that's really all you need. For this, I'm going to just drizzle it on top, and I'm going to mix it in with the bouillon from Maggie's, which I'll just use. Let's go back to this so you guys can get an idea on measurements here. Let's get this out of the way. So with the Maggie's, I'm gonna use about that much in a spoon. And typically what I do is I cook to sight. So measurements, a lot of people were saying, hey, do you mind sharing what you do? So for about 2 pounds, that's what I do in a spoon. And then we're gonna get some ground black pepper. And I like ground black pepper instead of the powdered black pepper because you get that fresh peppercorn. You know, you cut it in a grinder and it just goes on. When I do that, I think I kind of use a little elbow grease to get that in. And I'm just gonna rub it in. And yeah, with this I use my hand. So Brookup's not here today. She's doing her thing. She's not really into eating red meat. She won't even season it for me. So I gotta season it myself, which rightfully so. Some people don't like red meat, and I totally get it, but I eat red meat. So I ain't gonna stop eating red meat either because I just like red meat. You know, especially steaks, ribs and that. So here we go, just putting a rub on it. And like I said, it's a dry rub. Just getting everything in there. The Himalayan sea salt is very potent, very powerful. You know, it'll help tenderize the meat. And I don't know if you can see this, you know, but if you come a little closer, you know, you get an idea on how tender the meat is. So I'm just sort of pushing that in there. I don't need a meat tenderizer, but I know, and I'll leave that little piece of fat just to render off, just to add a little smoke and flavor, you know, to everything And even get a little bit on the bone. I don't really eat the bone in that, but I'm just gonna rub it in. Just rub it in nice, you know. And for this, I don't really use gloves. I mean, it's red meat, so I don't really use my sandwich bag gloves. Just get it in there, you know. Get it in there. I might even want to add a little bit more Maggi seasoning to this as well, just to try that bouillon flavor. You know what? No, I'm gonna leave it like this because I think it's right. This is just how tomahawk steaks are eaten. I've eaten it at a restaurant, asked chefs, what do you put in there? Salt, pepper, man, that's it. And it's some of the best steak that I've had, so stick around. This is Just a Rad Life, and we're doing tomahawk steak on the outdoor fire pit. The skillet is, let me get the oil off. Whoa, that ketchup, fire bun. I'm in a business though. Don't try that at home.